So one of the very important concepts that we're going to be using in the general equilibrium part of the course is the idea of a real wage. Now, this is really kind of unfortunate terminology, because real wage to an economist is not what one might think of in everyday life. Someone asked me what the real wage is. I'm not trained as an economist. I say, well, it's how much I make per hour. I make $10 an hour. I make $30,000 a year. It's thought of in terms of the currency. But when economists talk about this, we're trying to adjust that wage, that payment to labor, to individuals, and adjust it for the price of goods that you might buy with that wage. So when we talk about real wages, it's adjusting for prices. The nominal wage is simply how many dollars or whatever currency a worker might make per hour. Now I'm going to, in this instance, say it's per worker, but think of it as over a certain time period. So this is the amount that a worker makes within an hour or a year, whatever. But it's in terms of dollars. Now, when we talk about the real wage, we need to talk about, say, that relative to the price of, say, good X. And let's say that it is $1 for every unit of X. So if you look at this, my ability to buy X is a function both of how many dollars I make per hour and how much the price of X is. In this case, just look at it with that wage and that price, I can buy 10 units of X with this wage. Okay, that's simple. Now, when we talk about this in more formal terms, what we're going to do is that we're going to look at the wage divided by the price of X. And we're going to see that we're going to get exactly that same result that we had discussed a moment ago. So we're going to plug in $10 per worker. And we're going to divide it by the price of X. And with a little bit of algebra, canceling the dollars and flipping things around, what we get is that real wage of $10 it's 10 units of X for every worker hour that is expended. So you get exactly the same idea that we came up with just using the intuition. $10 per hour, $1 per X. The real wage is 10X per unit of labor. Okay? So let's take a look at what this would be, what this relative price, or relative wage would be. Again, we put this up here. So we started out with 10 units of X per worker. Imagine that the price goes up to $10 per X. So the nominal price of labor hasn't changed. It's still $10 per worker, but the price of the good has gone up. Now, just basic intuition ought to say, well, I'm going to be worse off if I'm earning this, and the price of X has gone up tenfold. And indeed, if you look at this new price of X, we would get, with that same wage, we would be able to buy only 1 unit of X with the hour of work. So what's happened is that even though the nominal wage may not have changed, the real wage has. The wage adjusted for the prices. So we can think of this in one final example. And we have this original real wage of 10 units of X per worker. And let's say that the wage has gone up to $20. The wage has jumped. This is doubled. But that the price of X, which originally was $1, went up to $10 per X. So again, the original wage was $10, the original price of X was $1 per X. So a naive person would say, hey, I've had a doubling in my salary, I'm better off. But it's important to note whether or not it's risen in purchasing power, in your standard of living, given the price changes. So what we have is that under this new circumstance, where the wage is doubled, but the price of X has gone tenfold, we now have a wage, a real wage. Okay, my $20 can buy only 2 units of X. And so what you see in this instance is that your real wage, adjusted for all the prices, has actually gone down. Now this is incredibly important when people think about whether or not some economic policy change or some change in the circumstances in an industry hurts or helps them. You want to look at not just the nominal payments that you get, but the cost of the things that you buy. And in trade, the prices are going to change often because of international competition, either selling more abroad or having to compete with products sold or produced in foreign countries. So this real wage is going to be very important. Now finally, let me say that this is a concept that we can also use in terms of the real payments to capital. R is the nominal payment to capital. And the real returns to capital is going to be adjusted for the price of X, or it might be adjusted for the price of Y, some measure of how much capital owners can buy of X or of Y given their nominal payment. So when we start to talk about the very short run, the long run effects of trade, we're going to be looking at both the payments to labor and the payments to capital in various industries. So real wage, real returns to capital, critical part of the story in terms of assessing how price changes affect the standard of living, the purchasing power of different agents in the economy.